2. Hey, what's up, Game of Thrones fans? It's the Campfire Crew, and this is the Aftershow. We're talking about Season 7, Episode 2, Stormborn. Pretty good little episode. Has some things going on. We've got a couple moments we're going to talk about and get down into the nitty-gritty. Gets a little nasty out here. Gets fun. Gets exciting. Nate, man, what you think about this episode? You go ahead and kick us off and let's rock.
I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a pretty good episode. Again, it felt like a setup. But what I like about this one that maybe was lacking in the other one is there were some big moments. There were some big moments, and even though it still feels like a setup, there were big moments mixed in. So I feel like every episode, I think maybe that's going to be the new formula we're going to get. We're going to get these real big moments, but then we're also going to have more stuff that's setting up to I'm thinking it's going to be a real epic finale for this season. But to start off, you had a conversation with Varys and Dany, which I thought was a huge deal, because even last season I remember thinking it was so weird because you got Varys just standing beside Dany and they're coming and everyone's cool and it's like, man, I don't know about this. There's definitely got to be some tension there because, just like she pointed out, you served my dad, then you served Robert. What's going to happen when you decide that, I'm not good enough for this job? You're going to just replace me too, basically. Like you're sneaky, you tried to kill me. Like there's a lot of reasons for her not to trust Varys, and I thought he was just perfect. Everything that he said, basically like, listen, I'm not here for a ruler. I'm here for the people. And we know that. We know that about Varys. He's been through a lot of stuff, and his ultimate goal is just to find someone who can rule the people because the people deserve better than what they've got. And he feels like she can do it from seeing the things that she does. She cares about the little people, which is something that is not the case for most rulers. So he feels good. And he basically tells her that. He said, listen, if you don't trust me, the second you decide that you don't, burn me. Have your dragons burn me. And they basically make an agreement. If she feels like, she's getting off, getting a little away from caring about the people, that he'll let her know, have a conversation instead of just, conspiring behind her, and the other way around. If she feels the other way, then, he'll let her burn him. So I like that. I like that part very much, very much.
I did, because he really stood his ground. He didn't back up. He didn't even really seem that scared. He was just kind of like,
the person that seemed scared was Tyrion.
Yeah, she cut him off every time he tried to speak, and she'd turn and look and just keep talking to Varys, but looking at.
Yeah, Tyrion kept playing this like, he's like, okay, guys, these are my two friends. I really want you guys to like each other. I'm going to stand here in the middle and try to kind of play it back. And yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah, she wasn't having it, and it was good. Like, she needed to have that conversation, but Varys was just like, as long as I have eyes, I'm going to use them, and incompetence will never get my undying loyalty. Talking about her father and talking about Robert. He was just like, look, these half-wits who couldn't rule, like, you just want me to be, and he even said, he was like, look, if that's what you want, this type of loyalty for kill me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dang, it's pretty bold words. And something we didn't mention before, because right after this, the Red Witch just pops up. Mm-hmm. She got there quick. She knew right where to go. Just got, booted from Jon and them, heads right down there to her, talks about Jon. So she kind of even made that introduction up at first, and I found it interesting.
Yeah, it was.
Later
she
on.
Was the one. Melisandre was the one character from the premiere that we didn't see, and we didn't really kind of know where she was going to pop up. So she pops up, and she basically says, I'm here, and I feel like we got this great war again. Just pushing it again. We got this great war coming. I love how Varys was like, oh, you thought so-and-so about Stannis. You just kind of like throwing it out because you already know he doesn't trust them. He has a reason for it. His man part's got tossed in the flames. Mm-hmm. He's still got a grudge about it. So, he kind of called her out on that. What I thought was interesting when she was telling about the prophecy, and then Sandy was explaining that, the prince could not necessarily be a man or a woman. It's a prince or princess that was promised, which I thought was interesting because I think that just adds fuel to the speculation that so many people have had for so long. Who's the prince that was promised? Is it Dany? Is it Jon? You don't know. So people are going to argue that, well, now that opens the door because so many people, well, it's the prince. It's got to be a man. Now you've opened the door that it could be the princess that was promised and that Dany could be the savior of Azor Ahai and not Jon. So I like that. That kind of messed with people. But then again, he was just explaining, I feel like you have a role to play. And so does Jon Snow. And then when he mentioned it, I thought it was really interesting because Tyrion was like, oh, yeah, Jon. I remember Jon. It was this kind of funny moment because it's been back since season 1.
It really has. It's been a minute.
And we're having a lot of those season 1 reuniting moments this season, which I thought was really cool. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. And, after they, have the little talk and she's like, all right, Varys, you're cool. You're with us. Then they go in there and they get their battle plans. So they do their battle plans and they're all kind of arguing. Yara's in there like, let's take our dragons, let's attack King's Landing, which that would have kind of been my thought initially, was just like, you got this big force, you're all together. They don't even have, like, why give them a chance to rally together? Just go and attack. And, Tyrion kind of puts a stop to it. Dany's the one that puts a stop to that, about not wanting to rule over ashes. And then whoever that chick is from Dorne, she's popping. Everybody wants vengeance. And right when these women were talking about their battle plans, you could tell the alliance was shaky because and Dany says it later on, and I'm glad she actually addressed it because it's like, you're not here for love out of me. You're here because y'all want, she says, talking to Olenna, but basically they all want the same thing. They want her dead. They want Cersei dead. So they just kind of teaming up with Dany for the time being, but you have that conversation with Olenna, and she's like, be a dragon. She's trying to forget everything that Tyrion just said in those little plans, and like, we need to attack is kind of what I got from that. What do you think about that whole scene? Do you think Tyrion's idea was the right one? Well, it was really thought out, but they don't, at this position, they don't need that type of strategy. I mean,
well, I
guess it's good.
I think you look at the plan and it's a long-term plan. It's not a short-term plan. You know what I'm saying? He's thinking about even after they win, it's the hearts and minds. You know what I'm saying? The hearts and minds of the people. You got to win the hearts and the minds. And in that situation, like she said, like he said, if you bring a bunch of foreigners in to take over, it's going to look bad. But if you have houses that are known, part of Westeros, rallying behind her, and they're the ones who are taking over, it's going to look more, it's going to get some of the other lords and other people in, and it'll kind of bring it about. And I think that's the thing. That's, Tyrion is thinking long term, and he doesn't. I would say his mind is not clouded by vengeance the way the other ones are. I mean, even though he might want to get back at his sister, you haven't gotten that thing from Tyrion where you feel like he's just really wants her dead. And I don't even necessarily know if he wants her dead as much as he just wants her off the throne. You know what I'm saying? So Tyrion doesn't have that vengeance that, I feel like he got that out of his system with his dad. And then now he's finding something else to believe in, and he believes in Dany and what she's going to do. So now he's past that point, whereas the whole rest of the room, they want their vengeance. They're like, let's take the whole force in there now. And Tyrion, I think his plan's a good plan. I think it makes sense. And it was interesting because after he said that, and even when he was she was sitting there talking with Lady Olenna, she was like, oh, he's a clever man. But, I've heard other clever men. I feel like she was almost planting seeds of mistrust in Dany of Tyrion.
Yeah.
Because of what he's going to do. And I'm wondering if that'll play out a little bit later on. Maybe Tyrion might make a bad call, and Dany might question him on it.
It's definitely possible. She's definitely there. She's a player of the game, and that's what she's trying to do, and plant these seeds of doubt, which is kind of, if she's smart, she won't listen to her because Tyrion's been nothing but trustworthy up until this point. So, and he's smart. Like, you can tell that. So, hopefully not, because I like Tyrion. He's one of my favorite characters. Right. But you know how this show is, man. They're going to mix it all up and cause all kinds of mayhem, and she's definitely one of them that can do that.
Yeah. Now, moving on to our next point, which is basically everything that's taking place with Sam at the Citadel. Again, when it kicked back over there, I figured like he's going to look into some more books. He's going to find out some more information. But it was interesting that, him and the Archmaester, I can't think of his name. It starts with the E right now. But they are, inspecting Jorah, and they see, his grayscale. He's like, yeah, it's pretty advanced. He's like, basically, it's going to be 10 years till you're dead. And I thought it was interesting. He was like, well, how long till I can see? And he basically like, 6 months, you're going to be blind. And it was kind of cool when he was talking with him. He basically said, normally we'd send you on a ship right now to be with the Stone Men. And then he said, well, because you're a knight, I'll give you another day. And then kind of look towards the sword. So to me, it was basically him back saying, I'm going to let you kill yourself. I'm going to give you that moment to kind of make peace with whoever or whatever you need to do. And then I'm going to let you have an honorable death by your own sword, basically. Like that's kind of the vibe I was getting from it. And then, once Sam started talking to him and found out who he was, I think that's kind of spurted those fires in him. And he was like, later on, he's talking to the Archmage. He's like, listen, I've figured out a way that we can heal him. And he's like, well, who was it? And he said, it's so-and-so. He's like, well, he died of grayscale. He, obviously that's why it's not, permitted. And I thought it was interesting too, because he mentioned, Stannis' daughter, which is the only other person, in the show that we knew that had it and that he was able to cure it. So the same guy who came up with this idea was the same guy who cured hers, which was interesting because you never got that. You always got, well, Serene got cured, so you kind of made it sound like he brought in a whole bunch of people to try to cure her, but you never knew exactly which cure worked. So it's kind of like they basically threw a bunch of medicine and somehow it worked. So it kind of was interesting to see that maybe there was an actual cure out there. Now, something I thought was interesting from some stuff that was posted where people were looking at the images from the book he was reading, and in that it was talking again about cure for grayscale, and then something about like made it sound like he might have to ingest dragonglass.
They didn't say, I don't think they said grayscale, but it was like blocked out to make you think it was grayscale. Like that's what we thought it was, but it was something about probably ingesting or eating dragonglass that could help cure something.
Right.
And the way the words were blocked out, like it may have been that. So honestly, the whole time I was like, yeah, tell him about dragonglass. I always was just assuming that was true.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was thinking about that too, because during that thing, I was thinking he was going to be like, I read this thing, but it turns out what he did was like scraping a dirty, nasty scab off somebody and then putting ointment on it. And it was gross. Like the whole thing, like it was crazy when he took off his shirt. You saw like it went from like just his arm to like half his body. I mean, he's basically almost turning into Two-Face. Half his body's going to be one color. And
he's jacked. He's jacked.
He looks bad. And when he peeled it off, it looked bad. So it's going to be the thing that to me that seems interesting is the fact that let's say he cures him and then he goes and hangs out with Dany. Like, what was the purpose of Jorah getting grayscale? Like, from a storytelling point, just so he could be with other characters? Like, it doesn't seem like there's a purpose. So I'm kind of wondering what purpose it'll be.
Did Sam say there was two? He mentioned two possible cures.
I felt like he mentioned two people who had been cured. I don't know if he mentioned two possible
maybe two cases. Maybe two cases.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I think that's what he said.
The reason I say that because I thought he was maybe going to try one cure and then it not work and then try another, because it was like there's this crazy cure for getting grayscale. Let's peel off the grayscale and then treat the wound. Like really?
Yeah, I mean,
just ripping the grayscale up, because Jorah could have done that. Like, oh, there's my first scale. Rip, treat the ointment. I'm done. Like that.
Yeah.
Just, it seems weird, but he's ripping. And here's another thing: if it's really dangerous and it could kill him, but he's going to die anyway, it's like this is an uncurable disease. People die from it. Let's try to cure it and run tests the whole time. It's just weird. I guess that's not what maesters do. It doesn't seem very logical to me. So it's like, look, he's far gone. He's definitely going to die. So I was like, well, if he's going to die, let's try some weird stuff. See what happens. But
yeah,
anyway,
I mean, it was weird. It was weird stuff they did. But again,
and yeah, there has to be a reason for him getting grayscale, other than just something else to add. Like, oh, he's sick. Is he going to get cured? Because at this point, I don't even care. There's so many other big things at play here. Jorah is not on that list. So
yeah,
whatever.
You kind of feel like there needs to be a bigger play for that, for sure. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Anyway, we skip from that over to Arya eating some delicious shepherd's pie. and she made some hot pie, good pie, whatever his name is, Fat Boy.
Hot Pocket, I love it.
He comes up and he's still cooking and he's still eating because he's a lot bigger now than he was then. And they just have a nice little reunion, and they're chatting. And amongst their talking, Arya realizes that the Boltons don't have Winterfell anymore, and that her brother Jon is actually king of the North. And she immediately, you see the emotion come over her face, like she just gets excited and almost overcome with joy, where she's just like, I don't even care about Cersei at this moment. Like, I'm going to Winterfell. I'm going to see my brother. And the funny thing was, Sansa was never mentioned. So I don't know if she realizes that Sansa's there or not, but Sansa was never mentioned. It was just all about Jon. Jon took back over Winterfell as there, and so she decided to go on. Had a cool little comment about she used to cook pie, things like that. But it was a good scene.
Yeah, I thought it was. I kind of got that vibe like she was going to go back. Anyhow, even when she was talking, like last week, she was talking with the Lannister troops, and they're all wanting to go home and their families, and you kind of could see her like the wheels turning in her head a little bit. And then when he basically was like, yeah, your home has, your people are there, and she changed her mind. She got excited and she changed her mind kind of quick. And for someone who's been so hell-bent on vengeance for so long, it kind of surprised me. I kind of felt like there would be maybe
a little bit more reluctant, maybe.
I guess she kind of looked reluctant when she was almost going to go this way, and then she looked for and she went the other way. But I felt like maybe she was going to be, like maybe something else would have changed her mind a little bit stronger. But either way, it doesn't really matter because we want her back there. Eventually maybe, kill Cersei. Who knows? We'll see that maybe next season. But we definitely want her, with the rest of them. We want to see those moments. But, of course, like a big tease that they do, she's heading to Winterfell as Jon is leaving out of Winterfell. So, of course, we're not going to see a Jon reuniting with any more of his brothers and sisters this season. It doesn't look like that's going to happen just because of the way things are laying out. And I'm not saying it won't happen, but it just feels like it won't now. I mean, maybe at the end of the season, I don't know. But it was interesting because everything that takes place at Winterfell is kind of set up throughout the episode. So this is going to bounce around a little bit, but to start everything off, basically, Jon gets the raven from Tyrion. And it was interesting when she basically says, send a message to Jon. It wasn't sent as a message from Dany. She's like, tell him to come and bend the knee. Tyrion being the diplomat that he is, basically like, hey, you should come up here. And I thought that was kind of cool that he put in something that he mentioned from the very first season, way back when they were around each other, that kind of made him realize it is Tyrion.
Right.
Not just something else. And then again, you got the insight from Sansa where she's like, listen, Tyrion, he might be a Lannister, but he's actually a good guy because you remember he was always good to her. Never did anything. So,
and he slapped Joffrey around a couple good times. So
right, he protected her, kept her from getting even more hurt from Joffrey. And then again, when they were wed, he wasn't like all right, baby, let's do this. So he was good to her there. But then also he gets another raven, the one that we saw sent in the first episode from Sam, letting him know that there is a ton of dragon glass under Dragonstone. So he kind of, hey, this is perfect timing. All these messages coming out at once. He lays it out there in front of all his people. Basically said, I think we need to go down there to Dany. We need to, talk with her. Either way, basically the only reason why I'm going is because I need the dragon glass. But if I do get down there and be able to get another ally, someone with dragons, because they got fire, it will be great because ultimately we don't stand a chance against the Night's King. Basically that's what he's saying to these people. Yeah. Like, listen, I know you guys feel pretty tough, but you haven't. And that was the other thing he kind of said. He's like, listen, none of y'all have seen what I've seen. None of you. And it's funny that he's meant, this is 2 times now that he's had to say, if you've seen what I've seen. And it's kind of like, you feel like people are starting to get kind of like, okay, yeah, we didn't see it, but we're trusting you. You know what I'm saying? He's like, you got to believe me. This is some messed up stuff. Every time he talks to someone, he's pleading his case because no one's seen it yet. So it's going to be interesting if we actually see a few more people see what he's seen this season to kind of build that up. But moving on.
He needs
he basically, or go ahead.
Well, he needs a high council because there'd be way too many people in there when he'd be like giving speeches. Like too many people. Like he doesn't need to have his authority constantly challenged from everybody, and that's why people have these high councils so they can sit behind closed doors and they can talk, and then he can like give his decision, and that's final. Because right now he's not getting the respect I think he deserves. Because when he's talking, everybody else needs to be like, yes, sir.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, everybody's against what he was saying.
Yeah.
And you're right. There's way too many people. It's like, bring everybody in Winterfell into this one room so we can talk about what the king is going to decide to do. And I want all of y'all to tell me it's a dumb idea. And that's basically what happened. Everybody told him, no, it's a dumb idea. Rob left, he died. Ned left, he died. Don't leave. Stay here where you can be safe. And he's basically like, listen, I don't want to be king. That's not what's important to me. What's important to me is saving the North. And if I got to go, and basically it almost sounded like he was saying, listen, if I got to sacrifice myself to do that, then I'm willing to do it. And it kind of was kind of one of those moments where, he's like, listen, I will do what I got to do to save everyone. And then, Sansa's like, don't go. And he's like, listen, Sansa, I'm going to leave you in charge. She's like, all right, well, have a good trip. like that's basically how it worked, because you could see the look on her face.
So Littlefinger's face.
She almost had that like what's the guy from The Simpsons? The guy who's always like this. I'm talking about the old man. He's always like,
Mr. Burns.
Yeah, she had a Mr. Burns moment where she was like, all right,
Yeah.
And then you looked over in the corner and you got Littlefinger, of course, again sitting there like ha ha ha, having his moment. But another part about this I thought was interesting. Jon's about to leave. Jon goes down to the crypts to pay his respect to his dad or his uncle that he doesn't know of, and his mom that he doesn't know is there. He's paying his respects to Ned. But Littlefinger comes down there, and the whole scene was so awkward because the whole time Littlefinger, I mean, not in a bad way, like it was great because Littlefinger's like, oh man,
I delivered his bones myself.
I delivered his bones, and then I brought this, and the whole time Jon's just standing there with this look on his face. This cold stone look on his face, like, I don't want to talk to you. Why are you here? I'm trying to have a moment, and he just keeps saying things, and he basically is like, well, all right, bye. And he's like walking off. And then when he says what he says, that moment when Jon just like grabs him and slams him up, it was literally a callback to season 1, which I know people have said this even from seeing it from the track, callback to season 1 where Ned did the same thing to Littlefinger. When Littlefinger was saying something, he threw Littlefinger up against the wall. Like, it was just like, ooh. It gave you chills in that moment. And then Jon leaves for Dragonstone.
Yeah, it was a good scene. Like, I was honestly waiting, like, when are we going to, like, when is it going to come out that, who's Jon's mother? I mean, I guess it's going to have to be Bran. Like, Bran's the only one that knows, I reckon. So, I mean...
Well, I guess in my mind...
There was an interesting comment about one of the guys in there said they're a Targaryen, and you can never trust a Targaryen or a Lannister.
As you're looking directly at a half Targaryen.
Yeah. So, I thought that. I was like, oh, I wonder if that's something that's going to play out later. And we're so excited. That's why we're just like, this is kind of a setup for something else, because we know all these little nuggets are going to come out, and we're ready. We're ready for the battle. We're ready for the White Walkers. We're ready for Jon's heritage to come out. Like, we're ready for all this, and we know they're going to slow drip it and, drop little hints and stuff. But
you got to think about it too. If it does come out that, when people realize that Ned is half Stark, half Targaryen, there's going to be a lot of people that probably aren't happy with that. Especially people in the North. Yep. They're probably not going to look at him as their king, knowing that he's half Targaryen, half. So that kind of makes Sansa right now looking like the queen of the North. And you just got to wonder, is she going to be like Cersei? We saw all those little similarities last episode. So you just don't know what's going to happen with that. But I don't know. I guess I feel like if we find out anything about his heritage, it won't be Jon that finds out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be, I think maybe when Bran gets back to Winterfell, maybe he'll do a little bit more, tree braining and stuff like that, floating around in the weirwood and look up and see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, but we didn't get any of him this episode. We'll see. We cut over after Jon leaves. We cut over to Arya. She's out in the woods on her way to Winterfell. Then we see Nymeria. She pops up. This I was about to call it a dog. It's not a dog. It's a wolf. It's a dire wolf. It's a big dire wolf at that. And we mention it because there was a big buildup for it, and it was kind of anticlimactic. Maybe we'll get to see this wolf again, but it's just kind of like, hey, girl, what's up? Oh, you're wild now? Okay, well, keep, running around, in the woods.
I think the reason why it was built up so much is because, she's mentioned a lot more in the books, Nymeria and her wild pack of wolves that are going around killing Freys and basically having their own Lady Stoneheart mission on their own, taking care of business. And you kind of, at this point, there's only her and Ghost left. There's no other direwolf. So you feel like her role has to be more important than just this little cameo that we got. So I feel like this cameo was there to set up something. Now, I don't know if we'll get that even this season, but I feel like we haven't seen the last of Nymeria. That would not make any sense whatsoever. Yeah. For them not to show her since season 1, to then bring her back in season 7 just to say, hey, how's it going? I'm really big now. And then not see her again. Like, there's something going to happen with Nymeria. I guarantee it.
We didn't mention it earlier, and before we jump on to, kind of the climax within this episode, there was a few things that happened at King's Landing. One, Cersei's got this big dragon-killing, machine, and we get to see that dragon. That thing was awesome, man. Like, seeing that dragon skull down there, it hurt my feelings when they shot the arrow in his head. I was like, don't mess it up.
Yeah, I was the same way, dude. I was
like,
man, that is an awesome-looking skull.
Yeah, even if, don't shoot it. Start, I don't know, shoot one of the other ones. It bothered me. I didn't want them to hurt that thing because it looks so dope. Fill me in on, Nate, what roles is it? How important is it that Sam's father is there kind of being groomed by Jaime to, bribe to be like, hey, you'll be Warden of the South and we could use you, when you fight.
Well, I think it's interesting to see, you got, Randall Tarley, he mentioned in this, was, one of the only people to not be defeated by Robert, during the whole thing. He was a big deal. He's definitely a military-minded person, even though he's a dick. We saw that, Sam's, dad is a dick. He's a dick. And he's got a son that he named Dickon, which is perfect to go with the fact that his dad's a giant dick. But, you have, I feel like maybe he's trying to talk him into it. He's trying to plead with him in a smart way. Listen, I'm not saying you need to be, because he even called him out on it. He's like, don't do all this treachery, all this kind of stuff. He's basically like, I'm a normal person. I'm an honorable person. And Jamie's like, listen, I'm not pleading to that side of you. I'm just saying, we need your help. And, Lady Olenna is out for nothing but vengeance at this point. So I feel like maybe he goes back there. I don't know if we'll even see a scene where he goes back, but I feel like after it was all said and done, I feel like he's leaning towards being with Jaime. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe him and Jaime team up. Maybe they do a little sacking or attacking of some other places on their own later on. But
ultimately, I think they'll have to go into try to take back Castle Black. Or not.
Yeah, you talking about
Castle Black? Not Castle Black.
You're talking about Castle Rock.
Yeah,
Castle
that
Rock, where they were talking about going into. Yeah, it's possible. I think we'll see some definite. I think he's going to have a role to play at some point this season. But back to what you're talking about with the spear, the feller. I think that's what those are called, fellers. When it shot that, I was really kind of upset when it shot that skull. But at the same time, sitting there thinking, yeah, it goes through the skull, man, but there's thick hides of scales. How do you know it's going to get through the scales? So, and how many of those things do you make? That one thing, imagine a dragon flying like this. You're like, I missed. Oh, you're screwed. You better have a whole bunch of those things.
They better go get Dracula from the Hobbit movie. I don't know what they.
I don't even talk about the guy
who played Dracula. Dracula Untold. They better go get that cat. He's the only one of those things.
He's the only one that can shoot. Yeah, he can shoot one of those and take out a dragon. Yeah, that would be if they get a bunch of those. I think maybe at least the reason why they showed that is they kind of showed that they stand. They have to have something to go against the dragons. I mean, the dragons are the X factor. They're kind of with dragons. It doesn't matter how many people you have. You can take your dragons in there right now by themselves, just send 3 and torch King's Landing. Game over.
Yeah,
they don't want
to take those dragons. They don't even got to kill all those people. They kept talking about thousands have died. No, they won't. Take those 3 dragons, roll up in that castle, and just burn Cersei. Game over.
Yeah, like it's basically like a cheat code that they could use, but they have to set the stage to make it feel like there's something that they could use against them. So I don't know. Maybe one of those dragon fellers will take out a dragon, or at least wound a dragon. At least make it feel like there's stakes to be had in that situation.
It just sucks if they do. They kill one and then they realize, we could have used that in the war. And it comes back later on, and the White Walkers are there, and somebody's just like, "I wish we had another dragon." Stupid.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's going to happen. But
not
you're
this
right.
kind of show, huh?
That would be good for the comedy spinoff of Game of Thrones, where they do because that's one thing they haven't done. They always do like movies, and they always make like little spoofs. They need a Game of Thrones spoof. That would be good. But basically, now we're going to talk about the final moment, which was pretty climactic. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good moment, but they set it up. The way they set it up from the beginning is that basically they're going to send, Yara and Ilaria down to Dorne with her ships to get all the Dorne's people, put them on her ships, and then take them towards King's Landing. Now, something I wasn't sure of, but I'm pretty no. I do know for a fact. I thought this earlier and I forgot. When I was watching, I was wondering if they were already on their way back from Dorne. But when they were talking, she said, "When we get to Dorne, I'll show you a really good wine." So that answered your question, but my mind got ahead of my words there a little bit. Yeah. But so they're on their way to Dorne, and Euron attacks. And man, did it seem like there was how many ships did Euron have? All you saw was the one.
It was like
the
one crazy big giant ship.
It looked like something out of Pirates of the Caribbean, just coming out of the flames, and just when it attacked and that thing fell down, and he's standing there and he's just like rah with the axes and stuff. I was like, dang, like that. Euron was bad. Like he was killing a crap ton of people. I mean, he would take a hit, he just keep fighting. Take a hit, I'm all right. I'm still fighting. Like it was crazy. And then he took out 2 sand snakes. Obara, the big one, who was like tearing people up, he freaking impaled her. And then Whippy Girl, I forget her name, he freaking choked her out. Good gosh, like he was just. But they were tearing him up too. Like, that was funny.
Harpoon, and they like pulled him back, and then he just like pulled it out. Like, bro, how many times did you get stabbed? Like he got stabbed a bunch of times. I could have sworn he got stabbed in the.
Dude, he was like a meth.
Stabbed him, and he just like punched her in the head. That was the one he picked up like that. I don't know. He was
like a meth pirate. Like he took some meth before he jumped on that thing. Like he was a crazy meth pirate, like really jacked up, and was just kept assaulting. It was good. I like the action. That was the first time we've seen some boat action. What did you feel about the way it looked? Just the fight and everything. It was real dark.
It looked really good. I mean, it was dark. It was there at night. He just kind of snuck up on them. Did they take it? They made it look like he just took out Yara's whole little fleet.
That's the way it made it look.
Their ships, and they didn't show his ships shooting all those fireballs. But man, they was launching those fireballs like crazy. Like, how did they launch that many? They just didn't stop raining down. Burnt all her little ships up. But I really like the scene. It was a good fight scene. I think we're going to get something like that every episode where we get a big, not that was really big, but a good battle. And I liked every moment of it. They went down there. They handled their business. What's his name? Theon turned into Creek real quick. And he looked, and those guys were savages. He looked around like, I would have jumped off the boat. I wouldn't even need to have been tortured. I'd have looked around like, yo, this dude's getting his ear cut off. This dude's getting his tongue cut off. My uncle just got stabbed 45 times, and he's sitting there laughing. Sorry, sis, you done for. I'm out. And then Euron's just sitting there like laughing hysterically.
Well, I thought the way it was done, because I mean, I was kind of surprised by by Theon during the battle, because he was fighting. Mm-hmm. Like, you hadn't seen Theon act like he still had a set in a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's been all kind of like scared in the corner. Like, he was fighting, and I was like, all right, good. Theon's, he's getting in there. I mean, he was taking out some dudes, and it was like, it's like his uncle knew exactly what to say to make, and I think maybe it's almost like he embodied Ramsay in that moment to make him feel like Reek again.
Yeah,
Get scared because his facial expression, I thought was, if anything, the dude did such a great job when he stood there and he was all like, he looked like he was ready to fight. And then you could see the change on his face. Like he went from being who he was in that moment to the person he used to be. And you could see it. And then you could see it on his sister, on Yara's eyes. She realized it too. You know what I'm saying? She realized
she was mad. She was disappointed. You could just see a whole range of emotions in her. So I thought they did really good with that scene because he was just like, yeah, I got your sister. Come and get her. You know, like, there's no way you're coming and getting her. You come over here, you're dead.
Yeah.
I did like that line. I did like the line before that where Euron was just like, give your uncle a kiss.
Like, it was. I mean, now we know what he went to go get, because remember he was saying he had to bring a gift to Cersei, so he's going to bring Ilaria and her youngest daughter and Yara.
Yeah.
You know, they did kill her daughter, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yep, it's a pretty good gift.
But you know, again, talking about poor Theon, you know, he's one of those characters that goes up. He's had such a roller coaster, you know, story. You know, from the beginning to this point, and now you kind of feel like you want some type of satisfaction for him. And in me personally, if there was any satisfaction I could ever get from him, that would be eventually. It probably won't happen this season, but maybe next season. I would love for him to have it out with his uncle and maybe kill him. I don't know how he could beat him.
I don't want it wouldn't be believable unless he does some kind of sneaky little end up stabbing the back.
Not after that scene. Like not after that scene.
No.
There's no way that you could see
it's
Euron.
Not believable that if they go toe to toe, Theon ain't beating Euron.
Yeah.
He's just, you know, he's not the one to do it. So I don't know. Theon is, you know, he made his bed, man. He turned on the Starks. He turned into a little punk. And I know he's been punished for it bad enough. The only time I feel sorry for him was when, like, he's got to, like, be around, like, all these, you know, women and stuff. And he's just like, I can't do anything. Well, why is he standing all the way over there all by himself? She's like, I'll leave him be. Like, you just feel like he wants to go in the corner and cry. I wanted to.
He's like, there's nothing about me that works right now. I can't do nothing. But stand here and look at you with the sad look on my face. Well, I don't know. Maybe you're right about Theon. Like, he might now be able to fight him. But maybe he could save his sister and maybe die saving her, at least gain that little ounce of honor. Or at least have a moment where the dude gets some type of, like, something about him. You know what I'm saying? Because you feel like he's just... I mean, don't get me wrong. This is Game of Thrones. He don't deserve squat. He ain't going to get squat. But I kind of feel like if there was something that could be cool that would happen for him, at least to get that, you know, some type of good moment for him. But I don't know. He definitely looked like a big old chicken turd this time around.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it. Is there anything else that we're leaving off that we want to mention?
Not really. Just
kind of we pretty much hit everything.
We have 5 episodes left. 2 episodes have really given us a lot, but I feel like it's going to just, from these first 2, I feel like it's just going to keep building and up in the ante every week. And you know what? Going into the weekend, I'm excited. I cannot hardly wait.
We got to get to, we haven't seen, the one thing we haven't really seen anything from, which I don't know what we would see from the White Walkers, because it's not like they talk and have conversations and meetings and strategies.
Yeah.
Ain't no backstabbing going on over there. He's the one. Let me tell you who the king of the. Ain't nobody messing with the Night King. Ain't none of his people turning on him. Ain't nobody like, hey man, let's take out the Night King, do something else. They loyal to that son of a gun right there. So if there's anybody who knows how to roll, got a loyal band, it's that Joker right there. But we haven't seen a lot from him. We haven't seen hardly anything from Bran other than the first episode of him like popping up. And we're probably going to get more of the Hound maybe next week. I don't know. They showed a clip of next week, didn't they? And it was Euron going back to Cersei and stuff. But
I feel like I don't know if we'll see what's going on with them.
To that point where we know Jon and them are going to end up north, like fighting White Walkers, and I'm just like, let's see what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I would like to. What was the thing I was thinking about? I really would like to know what's going on with Bran, because I feel like, we didn't see. I think we'll see more Bran next week, but Bran Brand's kind of somebody I want to see more about because the dude can see some crazy stuff, and I'd like to see some more crazy stuff. And honestly, if next season, I know it won't happen this season, but I think I would be 110% for an episode next season, which the whole episode is nothing but the Nice King from the beginning to where he's at. Like, just do like an hour and a half of like when he
just him walking in the snow.
Like him walking. It can do kind of like a time lapse, like basically what his story is. Because as far as we know, they don't talk or communicate. I mean, we could see that he could be fighting and he'd be like, "Hey, man, I need a break," and you'd be like, "Whoa," like, did you just speak?
Sitting over there having a smoke. That's in the spoof.
We need to write that out right now and sell it to somebody.
Yeah. But guys, that's pretty much all we got for tonight. Thanks for watching and joining in. I hope y'all are liking the show as much as we like putting it on and talking about it back and forth. So, hey man, comment, like, favorite the station, wherever you're at, follow the podcast. Again, we're going to be bringing one of these every week, and they're going to get more exciting, and they're going to get ramped up more and more as more nuggets get dropped and more episodes come out. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much all we got. I hope y'all have a good night, and until next time, we are out.
See you later.